Imagine if you could pause time. You would probably use it for something beautiful, to make a perfect sunset last all night, to hold on to a hug with someone you miss just a little bit longer, or to let a single moment of pure happiness stretch out into forever. It sounds like a perfect miracle. But that is a fairy tale. Because when you only get to pause time once, you don't use it for happiness. You save it for a nightmare. And this is the nightmare Elias waited his entire life for. A speeding truck, a terrified child frozen in its path. And watching from the sidewalk, Elias. His hand grips a tiny black button, a button that could pause time, but only once. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to go back 70 years. His father placed the ordinary black button into young Elias's hand. Don't waste it. It stops time. And when should I use it? Only when it truly matters. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to go back. That single sentence destroyed his life. Because how do you decide which moment matters most? At a wedding, he saw disaster in every corner, but hesitated. What if something worse happens tomorrow? Years later, outside a hospital room, he listened to his father take his last breaths. His thumb hovered over the button, but fear whispered, "What if I use it and still fail?" So he did nothing. And slowly the button poisoned every part of his life. That is the curse of having one perfect chance. The more valuable it becomes, the harder it is to use. He protected his miracle for 70 years, while missing all the smaller miracles around him. And now, the truck is inches away from the child. After 70 years, Elias finally knows. This is the moment. He presses it. Absolute silence. The entire universe becomes a photograph. At first, he thinks he has finally become powerful. Then, he tries to breathe. Nothing happens, because breathing requires particles to move. And now, nothing moves. The air becomes like invisible concrete, crushing his chest. Light itself has frozen. No new light reaches his eyes. Elias pushes forward through impossible resistance. Suddenly, tiny sparks crawl across his sleeve. A frozen raindrop hisses into steam. Movement itself is creating infinite energy. Too much speed, and he will kill the child himself. A rescuer moving too fast becomes the disaster. So Elias slows down, painfully slow, millimeter by millimeter. His lungs scream. He gently nudges the child, just slightly. It is like threading a needle in the dark while the universe crushes your hands. Then he looks at the child, and suddenly he sees his own son, not physically, emotionally. And for the first time in 70 years, Elias understands what he actually spent his life protecting. Not the button, fear. Finally, his thumb releases the button.
Time explodes back into motion. Air slams back into Elias's lungs, and the truck misses the child by inches. The child survives.
The crowd erupts in panic. But Elias just sits there in silence, breathing, because he finally understands. The button was never the miracle. Time was. He spent most of his life trying to save time instead of living it, because time was never something you could keep. It was always slipping through your hands.
And maybe that's the real lesson. Nothing lasts forever. Not fear, not regret, which means nothing needs to be perfect before it matters. You do not need the perfect moment to be kind. You do not need the perfect tragedy to be brave. And you do not need to wait for the perfect future before living your life. Because one day, you might realize the thing you were saving was already disappearing.
So, let me ask you something. If you had the power to pause time, but only once ever, would you actually use it? Or would you spend your entire life waiting for the perfect moment until there was no time left at all?